Welcome back, everyone. It's time for episode 24 of the Horns Up Podcast, your weekly catch-up on all things metal. I am your host, Dan Kaplan, coming to you as always from Brooklyn. With me from up north, the dark matter god himself, my good friend Corey Butterworth. Corey, what's going on, man? How's it going?
It's going well. You know, I actually looked up this whole dark matter thing, and it seems awfully complex. I don't like it.
We are in quite a dark matter mode today. I called you the dark matter god, referring to your lords and saviors, Agalok. We are going to be talking about a Devin Townsend tune from the Dark Matters portion of his Z2 album.
Right.
What is it with metal bands and dark matter? This is just such a compelling topic all of a sudden.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I don't know where to go with this exactly. Dark Matter Dimensions by Scar Symmetry? Maybe.
Yeah. Hey, there's another one. These are all things we like. But yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I guess aside from trying to figure out how to follow up with that, things are good.
Oh man. Well, we have a busy podcast ahead of us. Let's not waste any time. Let's jump right into it. As I mentioned, we have Devin Townsend news right off the bat. Our first headline of the week. We are now less than 3 weeks away from the release of Z2. In case you can't tell, I'm really freaking excited about this. And to tune us up for Z2, Devin has released a video for the song Death Ray, which is off the Dark Matters portion of the album, the continuing saga of Ziltoid. Of course, the other part of the double album, as you know, is called Sky Blue, which is another album's worth of Devin Townsend project material. Also exciting. I'm just so jazzed about Devin Townsend stuff. Isn't this great? Isn't this a fun time of year?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. You know, I got, the coffee ready, which I'll need for when I pick this thing up at midnight anyway, plus Ziltoid and coffee and whatnot. Yeah, I mean, we're getting closer. I mean, obviously, I'm going to be spending this thing quite a bit once it comes out. I mean, October 27th, I want him to release more tracks, but I also don't. I mean, I'm not sure. Obviously, I'm sure you've listened to Death Ray, and it's freaking fantastic. It's exactly what I like, Devin. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm all kinds of excited. I mean, the anticipation's just ridiculous at this point. Yeah.
Now, the song actually really reminds me of Ziltoidia Attacks from the first album.
Sure.
And just in general, like it's good in that like kind of insane Devin Townsend way. It's nice to hear him get back into like super heavy kind of maniacal stuff. I mean, like it's been a little while. We had Ghost, we had Epic Loud, we had Casualties, all of which were great, but weren't necessarily like crazy Devin.
Right.
This, I have a feeling, is going to be crazy Devin, which I'm very much looking forward to.
Right, and he writes this maniacal, crazy stuff, but he's still the goofy Devin Townsend I know, so it still kind of just makes me a little giddy, which is kind of just a little bit ironic, but what the hell? That's why I like this guy so much.
Exactly. He's crazy in the best of ways.
Exactly.
And now the video was, appropriately sci-fi like in nature. We have, an army of saucers surrounding Earth. Ziltoid addresses the people of Earth before its, inevitable destruction. It's, very, very weird, very Devin. Also shows all the lyrics to the song as it unfolds, which I didn't really pay attention to, but we'll go back and listen to eventually.
Right.
I'm pumped for this. I'm really, really excited. So again, the song is called Death Ray. It is off the Dark Matters portion of Devin Townsend's upcoming album Z2, out October 28th on Heavy Devi Records. You know what to do. Pre-order it, buy it, listen to it 8 times through the first night. I mean, we'll be right there with you. So
I sense without trying to, well, let's face it, this is going to be a complete spoiler alert, but I'm willing to bet one, if not both of us, will be using the first Ziltoid album as the retrospective for that week. Just a hunch.
There you go. Well, moving on, our next headline of the week, we have news from Wintersun. Going back to last month, we talked about how Yari Man-Pa was struggling to rein in his own ego. Finish time 2, which led to him posting a series of novel-length Facebook posts about how there isn't a studio advanced enough to record his stuff, and Nuclear Blast wasn't going to let him crowdfund a studio construction project, et cetera, stuff we've heard before from Yari. He got kind of ugly Nuclear Blast took a higher road than perhaps he deserved, and we didn't really hear much from it in the aftermath. Until now, that is. Yari, late last week, issued another post from the Winter Sun Facebook page polling fans as to their interest and willingness to participate in a crowdfunding campaign. And more importantly, it leads off with, good news, guys. We've reached an agreement with Nuclear Blast. We got to give them big props for coming through for us. So it looks like Nuclear Blast is behind this possible crowdfunding deal, which didn't look like they were going to be before.
Why are they?
Well, the post then goes on to it goes into what fans might receive as gifts, as prizes, if they contribute to the crowdfunding campaign, including a mention in the Time 2 liner notes, a whole range of other goodies. One thing stood out to me. Yari was offering audio stems for all the songs and all the tracks as well, which I don't exactly know how that's going to work out. I mean, considering that Time 2 is the album that studios can't handle because there is no hard drive big enough to contain all of the instrumental tracks.
Apparently.
What, are you just going to drop them? You're just going to drop them on fans with like average Joe computers? How is that going to work? Come on, Yari. Either way, this post has been shared almost 2,000 times, liked more than 8,300 since Friday, so in less than a week. So it looks like this thing might actually go forward. I don't know how you feel about it. I don't really care either way. I just want my damn Time 2 already.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm a little tired of fucking reading books every time this guy posts anything on Facebook. It's a little goddamn time consuming, and I'm a busy human freaking being.
Dude writes speeches like a politician, for God's sake. I mean, these are just like major addresses here.
God, and the way he talks himself in circles and beats around the bush simultaneously while also waffling around. Any phrase regarding not speaking cohesively yet using too many words is pretty much what he's doing in all of these situations. I mean, for fuck's sake.
Not as big an offender on the not speaking coherently and using too many words as what's his name from Convulse, Rami Jamsa.
Yeah, but I like him.
another Finn on Facebook who I follow with great delight, because honestly, the Convulse Facebook page it's a joy.
Well, it's just him not being able to English. That's the best thing about it.
He can't English well at all, yeah.
But either way, like you mentioned, he was hoping to get 8,000 likes. He's obviously well eclipsed that already. I was one of them just because I don't fucking give a shit. I want, like you said, anything that gets me Time 2 faster, I'll help out a little bit. And as far as this crowdfunding thing goes, yeah, some of that stuff sounds kind of cool. It might be something I'm somewhat interested in just because I do, when this fucking band eventually does put stuff out to the public to listen to, it is pretty awesome. So I might help nudge it along a little bit if I feel, I don't know what the term is. It's not ambitious. It's not, generous. It's pretty much just fucking impatient. I mean, but at the same time, I just want this freaking thing to work out. But I don't like the fact that this might work out in a way that also boosts his ego even further. I will say that much. Not what he needs. And not what he talked about in his previous post about how he's already written now like 4 or 5 albums worth of material since Time 2, because of course he wrote Time 2 7 or 8 years ago, sat on it, was unable to put it together because God forbid a hard drive exists that can hold 200 tracks per song or whatever the hell it is. Yeah. So yeah, if this does well, I mean, he's just going to be, I mean, he's already kind of insufferable. He's just going to be even more so. Whatever. So. I mean, I want to say it's fine as long as he keeps pumping out the music, but he's not even doing that. Like, really. So we'll see. We'll see. It's sad because I remember when Time 1 came out, I loved it. It was easily my favorite record of that year. I still listen to it every so often. But at the same time, when I first heard it, I was like, I want there to be more of this, and soon. And for a while, it looked like there would be within the next calendar year or two. It looks like Time 2 is going to drop, which is about right for fucking concept albums that follow each other up. And it never happened, and I've just slowly just stopped giving a shit. I really have, about the whole Time situation. Because I remember they played the new song at their last show. This show where they, Flesh got open for him and everything like that, and they played the new song or something about fire or some shit.
Yep.
And it was awesome. And it's 3 years later or 2 years later or whatever we are now. I'm just kind of like, well, fuck you. Like, seriously.
We were supposed to have time 2 6 months after time 1. It has now been almost 2 years.
Yeah, there you
because
go.
of course.
So that's my feeling on the whole thing. I mean, I hope this comes out soon. I hope it kind of like rekindles my interest in these guys. But right now, it's kind of like, don't drop really 4 or 5 songs on me, alluding to another 4 or 5 that'll show up in half a year. Because guess what? 4 or 5 songs is enough to keep me encapsulated for 2 years. It doesn't work that way.
No.
So we'll see what happens, But
that we will.
Fingers crossed.
That we will.
I want this thing.
Yeah, as do I. We'll keep an eye on Yari Manpa and Winter Sun. If the crowdfunding campaign actually takes shape, we will certainly let you know. Moving on, our next headline. We had news from your favorite band, Corey, from Behemoth. Got some political shit going on in Poland. I almost said Portland. They're not from Portland. We got some political shit going on in Portland.
Portland's fine, but Portland's not that cool.
Right.
But then again, I guess Poland isn't either at this point. But
yeah, clearly. So Behemoth was set to play a show at Poznan University of Medical Sciences for some reason, but recently had to cancel after receiving a letter from the promoter saying that there were concerns at the university and in the town for the safety of students and campus workers. Now, Behemoth responded, quote, "We have no doubt this is a political decision. It's not the first clampdown on national artists. Poznan, instead of being a free culture center, begins to resemble Russia," which hasn't exactly had the best of times with metal acts lately. The whole Cannibal Corpse cancellation and Behemoth getting thrown out of Russia earlier this year.
Out of the country.
Yeah, and now it looks like it's spread to Poland. If you're according to Nurgle, you also wonder how the town can get away with this, because as the band mentioned in one of their statements, Article 73 of the Constitution of Poland guarantees, quote, "freedom of artistic creation and scientific research, as well as free access to cultural goods," which would be, canceling this show would be denying Behemoth the freedom of artistic creation and would be denying their fans access to cultural goods. So I'm sort of wondering, when it's going to give here. Who's going to put the kibosh on this cancellation?
It's hard to say. I mean, the thing is, it's not the first time either that Behemoth has had issues in their own country. I'm not sure if you recall, but back in, I want to say it was like mid 2000s, Behemoth was, or I should say Nurgle was on trial for blasphemy when he tore a Bible up on stage, which he did several times. I mean, he was eventually acquitted because, again, artistic expression, etc.
Oh, that Nurgle.
Yeah, I mean, fucking, come on, guys. Ripping a Bible up, no offense, but, I mean, there's probably some people that feel really, really strongly about the Fountainhead by Ayn Rand, and if you tore that up, they probably wouldn't do shit about it. So, as far as I'm concerned, religions are religions. Leave it alone. It's art. It's expression. Just fucking who cares? That eventually was agreed upon by everybody. So either way, it's not the first time he's had issues there. I do think it would be a long and pain in the ass type of situation to deal with something like this. Just because Poland, as far as I'm aware, isn't, first of all, they let this happen. Somehow this happened. I mean, granted, why you're playing at, as you said, for some reason, at the Poznan University of Medical Sciences, a little weird. I mean, that's a little curious.
Just a tad. Just a tad.
Who knows? Whatever. Maybe it was a dope venue. Who gives a shit? But safety for students and campus workers? I mean, are they allowed to have music then? I mean, for Christ's sake, that's why it's obviously a lot of bullshit, and I don't think it's going to be a fast-moving process, but I am optimistic that eventually, over time, that something's going to kind of be done about this, wherever the hell that may be. I mean, honestly, you can't really just go back and turn back time and play the show again, but maybe there's some kind of, legal action, fines or whatever for the venue or something. But either way, it's going to be, I have a feeling, a rather time-consuming process if it's actually looked into like that.
Yeah. It's a shame to see. Although I don't understand this whole safety of students and campus workers thing. I got to go back. You look at an artist like Lady Gaga, for example, who climbs into stage in an egg and enters coming out of a giant wooden vagina or whatever the hell stage props she's put together. Like, that is not something you should be concerned over people's well-being for, but Behemoth is.
Here's the thing. As far as I'm concerned, generally any metal show is going to be first rule, the actual music. That's the first priority. That's the first focus. The rest would be, theatrics and the actual, whatever they do on stage. I mean, Rammstein is obviously an exception to that rule, for example, because they light things on fire frequently. But as a whole, I wouldn't be as concerned about, mosh pits and a metal show and whatever, as it would be about, like you said, fucking a Skrillex show where fucking MDMA and all that shit like that, where everybody's just completely fucked up. That, to me, spells more disaster than this freaking shit does. It really does. Maybe just me. Maybe it's just because I don't waste my time on shit like that. But that's just kind of how I see it.
I'm right there with you. I don't understand the logic at all. But you know what? I mean, I think we have our biases as well. So
yeah, right. Because we enjoy music. That's why.
Yeah, this is true. So put up your two fingers for Poznan University of Medical Sciences. Hopefully shit gets resolved for Behemoth, and they'll find another way to make the show go on. Final headline of the week, we had one that kind of made me laugh because it was a guy we hate, and thus more opportunities to rag on him. Talking about Phil Labonte from All That Remains, who was on Jamie Josta's podcast recently, meaning two people we hate in the same show, two honorees in our two seeded teams in our dipshit bracket from back in March. I will listen to that show exactly never. But anyway, exactly. Phil was on. Basically came out and said that the band's most recent album, 2012's A War You Cannot Win, quote, overall sucked. He curiously then decided not to elaborate on that statement and instead followed up with why he liked the band's best albums and how songs from those albums would have made A War You Cannot Win better. First off, no shit, Sherlock. If they're your best albums, they're going to make any album. Songs from them are going to make any album better. No kidding. Secondly, I don't know about you. I don't think he went far enough saying just that A War You Cannot Win overall sucked.
Yeah.
I personally would argue that their whole career, quote, overall sucks. But that's really, just me.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to agree to a great extent there. I mean, I hate just spending time shitting on bands of the metal persuasion because, it's not going to help the genre any, and that's eventually what we're trying to take care of here. But for fucking shit like this, I would have to agree wholeheartedly. And this is not a band that's really produced a ton of value to the metal world as far as I'm concerned. I mean, obviously they have their followers. They do. The metalcore followers. They love them. But, as far as not elaborating goes, I don't really expect to get a whole lot of out of what Phil Labonte says. He's proven in the past he can't English as poorly as the guy from Convulse can't English. So I would expect,
which is saying something because it is his native language, unlike Rami Jamsa.
exactly. And you can honestly just hear it when he talks, and you can see it when he, when he's transcribed or whatever. A War You Cannot, and I quote, A War You Cannot Win had some of our biggest singles. I think overall the record in general sucked. That could have really been about 4 words. Really, it could have been.
Overall, in general, yeah.
Kind of, sort of, sucked. Totally, I think.
Come on, Phil. He can't find the right words because he never learned them.
Right. Live more efficiently there, bud. Come on. So,
Phil Labonte, I almost said Phil Anselmo. He then, later on in this interview, he went on to slam his record label, which they've just got to be thrilled about. So yeah, all around good day at the office for Phil Labonte and on the Jamie Josta podcast. Disowning one of your albums, potentially angering your record label. Why not? Kick out the jams.
All in a day's work. God damn it. Go back to that band that doesn't exist anymore, Shadows Fall, and maybe put out some more death metal like they did freaking almost 15
Yeah,
years ago
here's
now.
the thing. When he was in Shadows Fall, they were actually both pretty good.
Right.
Shadows Fall was doing like some straight death metal stuff, and Phil was less annoying because anonymous.
Because no popularity.
Right. Hadn't gotten to his head yet. Popularity hadn't replaced brain power in the Phil Labonte noggin. So...
Oh well.
Oh boy. But yeah, so that's that. That'll wrap up headlines for the week. We do not have, for the first time in a couple of weeks now, we don't have any concerts to review, so let us move right into some new releases. Got some good ones for you this week, folks. Starting off, let's go into one that has been highly anticipated for quite a while now. I must have given this thing 2 or 3 spins in the last 36 hours. Talking about a new one from Godflesh, A World Lit Only by Fire. It's their 8th full-length album, and it's their first in 13 years since 2001's Hymns. Of course, following up on the excellent 4-song EP Decline and Fall from earlier this year. Corey, what'd you think of this one?
I thought after the 4-song EP that this album made sense. I mean, it was big. It was a big album. I've always kind of said, in a weird way, to me, Godflesh sounds a little bit like a doomy version of Fear Factory, and this is pretty much hits that on the head. I loved the, almost like the, I don't know. I think a term you may have used at one point was almost like mechanized, which I think might be a Fear Factory album. It was almost like a mechanical sound. And it just made the album sound so big, which I actually really appreciate. This is a band I've never really gotten into all that much. I don't know. They kind of come and go for me in very brief stretches. And this album will probably do the same. Mostly just personal opinion, but as a whole, it was a big listen, and it was enjoyable for that. And I do like, the industrial aspects of it. I liked how the notes were really allowed to develop and breathe, and just how everything worked together. Is a really cohesive album. And the best thing, and the thing about it is, the ending 3 or 4 songs were my favorite part of the whole thing. So just when I thought that, I had just about had my fill of Godflesh for the day, it just killed things at the very end, and it was awesome. It was awesome. So yeah, it's a solid track. I actually enjoyed it, and 54 minutes, like I said, it felt a little long for me, but whatever. It was a good record. I enjoyed it. I did. I didn't spin it as many times as you did. I know you feel much more strongly about it than I do.
I'm quite excited about it.
What's that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm quite excited about it.
So you may go ahead and take the reins on this one.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you mentioned Fear Factory. I kind of was thinking of them as well, but in the sense of, not that it reminded me of Fear Factory. I think Fear Factory kind of, I look at Fear Factory and I think they are sort of the surface of what industrial is the industrial sound. I think they're like the top coat, I guess the varnish, you might say. Whereas I feel like something like Godflesh, coming from Birmingham, like really in gritty factory town, obviously the same town that spawned Black Sabbath back in the day. This thing really takes on, it really sounds like you're in the middle of a factory. It sounds like you're on an assembly line. It sounds like you're about to get run over by an armored tank. I mean, this thing, talk about like heavy as all hell. Justin Broderick uses an 8-string guitar. You really feel it. It's so just crushing. It's, it's very, in that regard, it's very reminiscent of, their earlier stuff, the self-titled EP, the first album, Street Cleaner. Right. It's, this thing just, it feels like they've added the weight of a sack of bricks onto that mechanized sound. And I absolutely love it. I think Shut Me Down, song 3, is one of the best metal tracks I've heard all year. That plus the song Playing with Fire from the Decline and Fall EP are just incredible. Just such fantastic grooves on both. You also get a lot of stuff that I found like kind of slower and bleaker, and then others that are just straight away pummelers.
Right.
I'm thinking like Obeyed, Life Giver, Life Taker. In fact, those kind of switch feel halfway through. Obeyed starts off slower and then just becomes a pummeler, and then Life Giver is a reverse. It starts off like really intense and then kind of slows down the stretch. For me, I mean, this is just like everything I could have hoped for from this record. I mean, they've picked up right where they left off and are actually better, I think, than they were on Hymns. 13 years later, to me, they didn't miss a single beat. So I was really, really impressed with this. It's good. We're on a solid roll of good comeback albums. We've got Godflesh. We had I Hate God earlier this year. Obviously, Carcass and Goreguts last year. I mean, this is quite a nice run. I mean, hopefully continues on. Hopefully the run of good luck continues to At the Gates.
Yeah.
We'll see about that.
I was going to say. Hey, that thing got amazing reviews, by the way, so I'm pretty excited to listen to that one and finally talk about it, because that's so far has gotten some really good feedback. Just saying.
I want to reserve judgment until I hear it, because I want to know if, I think of when people review movies like, I don't know. I think of when people reviewed Schindler's List and gave it Best Picture of the Year and stuff. Like, how much of that was the quality of the movie, and how much of it was what the movie was about? Right. You know what I mean? With all these 5-star reviews for At War with Reality, how much of that is the actual quality of the album, and how much of it is, oh my God, new At the Gates?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, and that's actually part of why I'm really interested in listening to it, because I've been spinning At the Gates frequently in the past year, mostly due to like MDF and everything else. So with them being fresh in my mind, everything I've written previously, I feel like I have a pretty good way, or a pretty good mentality as far as comparing the new track with the old stuff. It's not like I've been waiting 12 years to hear At the Gates, and all of a sudden anything new is just super exciting to me. With them being fresh in my mind, I think, I want to basically compare how I see it to how all these 5-star reviews go that have reviewed it. That's more of what I'm getting at. So that's kind of why I'm excited about it. So we'll see.
Definitely. While we're on At the Gates, I got to give a shout out to our boys Chuck and Godless from the Metal Sucks podcast. They interviewed Tomas Lindberg from At the Gates in this week's episode, and interesting revelation: the dude is a social studies teacher in his spare time in Sweden. How awesome is that?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's gonna be a sick day job. Go to school, summers off, tour with the band, do whatever. Makes me think of like, obviously not the same level, but it makes me think of Greg Graffin from Bad Religion, who's actually a PhD and teaches at Cornell and UCLA. No, his PhD is from Cornell, teaches at UCLA, all this stuff. Crazy. Anyway, we are digressing like crazy. We started talking about Godflesh, so let's go back to that. The album is A World Lit Only by Fire. It is out now on Avalanche Recordings on Spotify. Check it out now. Don't waste any more time. Just go listen to it. In fact, stop listening to us and go listen to that, and then you can come back and listen to the rest of us. I won't be offended.
I might be.
So next up, we have a new album from Orange Goblin. This is called Back to the Abyss. It is their 8th studio album. Again, the London stoner rock heavy metal band. What'd you think of this guy?
I mean, if it felt like stoner metal, it really did. That said, it had some nice upbeat tones to it, so it was actually a lot of fun to listen to. To be completely fair, I didn't get through the entirety of it just because there was other stuff I wanted to listen to to be talked about soon. But it was fun. I don't know. It's just whatever. I mean, the guitar work, if you could fuse Pink Floyd's guitar work into a metal band, that's kind of how I feel like it would sound, which is kind of cool. There were some notes where I was just like, oh, David Gilmour, which I guess anybody could appreciate, but I don't know. I didn't get through it because it didn't really keep me all that interested, but it was fun for what I heard. I mean, whatever. Stoner metal, it is what it is, as far as I'm concerned.
See, I will disagree with you here. I had a lot of fun with it. I liked it because to me, it didn't seem like stoner metal in the way that we tend to think of it. Like most of the time when I hear stoner metal, I think like kind of a bloated, heavy, like wah-wah driven kind of affected sound. But this thing, I mean, as you said, this thing was kind of upbeat for most of it. It had quite a bit of bite. It almost reminded me of Clutch at times.
Okay.
The singer Ben Ward kind of reminds me of a gruffer like Mark Tornillo or Bobby Blitz Ellsworth. He's got a bit of a shrieky quality to his voice, but I feel like he puts a little bit more force from it. He sings from his gut, from his chest voice.
Yeah.
Which I thought like really, really worked well with that sound. The songs Ubermensch and The Devil's Whip, I just absolutely loved. I thought Ubermensch was catchy as all hell. Devil's Whip had almost like a punk energy to it. Also, I just love the fact that there's a song called Bloodzilla on it.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
Which also really rips. Overall, really my only complaint with this thing was I felt it was a little bit on the long side. I don't know that it really needed to be 54 minutes long. Little trimming of the fat, and this one would be, very much near the top of my list. As it stands, it's still a very good album. Possible year-end material. We'll see how the next couple of months go. But yeah, I enjoyed the heck out of it. So,
well, Jesus, I'm the apathetic one this week. Holy Christ!
Yeah,
they actually played MDF a couple years ago, 2011. So not one we would have been able to go to, but yeah, they've played MDF. Yeah, whatever. They're neat.
Good stuff. Again, the band is Orange Goblin. The album is Back from the Abyss. It's out now on Candlelight Records. You know what to do. Next up, we have an album from Stench. The album is called Venture. It's the second full length from this Swedish Black and Death crew. What do you think of this one? Did you get a chance to listen?
I did. I enjoyed this one a fair amount, actually. This is
all we need are the words "Black and Death," and Corey's apathy goes away.
Yay! Yeah. No, this was either Black and Death or move towards that proggy black metal side, like where Agalok sits, and I'm in a pretty good place. This actually, to be completely fair though, this album didn't really grab me until maybe the third or fourth song. It took a few minutes of listening. To me, it was Black and Death, and that was neat. But it kind of built on me as the album went along, and my high point over the course of the album had to be Celebration, which was an 8-minute and 58-second, I guess you could say almost epic, and it was fucking cool. I really enjoyed that track. It was a relatively quick hitter. The album didn't seem long at all. I think it was over and under 40 minutes, which was, I think, kind of perfect for it, really. I mean, it was very much what Black and Death metal is in some ways. I appreciated to an extent the rougher production. I think it worked. I appreciated how the vocals I felt had almost like a bit of an echo to them, which I thought was really cool. I mean I enjoyed it for the most part. Overall, like I said, it took a little while to really build on me, but yeah, right towards the middle third to the final third, it definitely had my attention. So it was good. It was a good album.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on Celebration. I think that is easily the best song on the thing. I really like the next song, Way, the penultimate track. Sort of a down-tempo interlude. Technically, I guess you'd call it filler, but it's the best kind of filler. It's still kind of compelling. It's got a weird kind of like what sounds like vocal chant or exercise toward the end of it. Really enjoyed that. I thought, up to that point, it was a little uneven. I thought, the first couple of songs were very meh. Road was good, and then Small Death kind of meh. But I thought the high points, the parts that did stick were definitely made it worth the listen. Overall, to use Phil Labonte terminology, overall this thing does not suck. Overall, this was an enjoyable listen. I think if it was a little more even from front to back, it could have done well. But I'm not going to complain too much. And like you said, it's over and done with in less than 40 minutes. So I mean, you really don't have an excuse not to give it a shot.
Right. And I'll be fair. I probably won't go back to this album all that frequently, if frankly more than once or twice. There have been better Black and Death metal albums that have come out this year, many of them. But Celebration I will be going back to many times. I think that was one of the better individual tracks I've heard this year. I really do think so. So at least listen to that one for real. Like at least listen to that track.
It was really really impressive that, as you mentioned, it's almost 9 minutes long, and they switch feel quite a bit. They really managed to avoid sounding boring or stale at any point in that 9 minutes.
It hit me. That track hit me the same way. That I'm gonna fuck up the title again because it's a long fucking one. But the same way the 12-minute long closing track to Allegian's fuck.
Vows for the Vitruvian Man. Something.
No, that's not it.
That's the subtitle.
God damn it. It's I'm gonna look at the goddamn CD because I own it.
Something for praise.
Genocide
for praise. Vows for the Vitruvian
Genocide
Man.
for praise.
Yeah.
Genocide for praise. Vows for the Vitruvian Man.
See, I got half of it.
Right, and I got the other half after I looked at the CD. I mean,
it's really I only missed the first word.
Yeah, I really did.
Genocide.
I pretty much contributed nothing to that, but whatever. I was mixed well. There's that phrase again. No, but in the same light, it's a long track that I thought was written really well, and like you said, there was no dull or boring parts that lost my attention. Same idea. So that's really the comparison I was trying to make. So that's why I think it's definitely, at least if you don't have 40 minutes to spend on the album, at least listen to that 9-minute track. No question.
So again, the band is Stench. The album is Venture. It's out now on Agonia Records. Do your thing. Finally, we wrap up this week with a new album from Cerebral Extinction. It's called Inhuman Theory of Chaos, and it is the debut full length from the Italian death metal trio. Now, interestingly, 3 full-time members of the band include a guitarist, bassist, and vocalist. They actually used a session drummer named simply Danny for this record. And it's spelled D-A-N-N-Y, not D-A-N-I, not, how you might think an Italian would spell Danny. Nope, it's just Danny. Anyway, I found that more amusing than it probably is for you all, but what'd you think of this one?
Not a ton. To be completely fair. I thought it was fine. Didn't. I mean, it was death metal. I mean, it was a 35-minute long death metal album, and that was pretty much it for me. Like, really. I didn't hate the music. I didn't go crazy over the music. There were parts where I kind of was listening to a song and I'd be like, oh, I wonder what the song's called. And not because I thought it was fantastic, but because I was kind of like, oh, they're still doing this. More of a thing. I mean, it was, and I'm not being really fair here. There were some really good moments. I honestly couldn't tell you where they were. There were parts of the, I'll say it's not the opening track.
It was mixed.
It's not the opening track, but because that's, a minute long, but there were parts of Burned Breath I liked. There were part of Sutured Words I liked. I remember the title track, not hating that one, but really it was just straight up old school death metal, which is awesome, but I don't know. It didn't do a ton for me. It really didn't. But I know these guys haven't been around. It's one thing if a band like Cannibal Corpse does that, who have been in the genre, have like pioneers of the genre, have been doing this for years. Do we really need, like in 2014? Do we really need another debut death metal band that sounds like this? I mean, do something different with it. Yeah.
I mean, I'm with you. Like, I didn't think it was bad, but it's not going to stick with me. I also thought that, I don't know if it was just me. The drums, the snare drum in particular, really stood out in a bad way. I don't know if it was most definitely not mixed well.
Yeah. There's that phrase again.
I thought there were a couple. There were a couple songs that I thought were okay. I mean, I liked the start-stop feel they had on Alienation. I thought Echo's Enema was good. I mean, that was a nice little 2-song stretch. But that's about it. That's all I'm going to take from this thing. I mean, I just wasn't terribly impressed with it. I didn't hate it, but I wasn't. I'm not going to call Mama Kaplan and be like, yo, you got to check out this Cerebral Extinction record. At any rate, Cerebral Extinction, the album is Inhuman Theory of Chaos. It's out now on Ghastly Music. Check it out if you feel like some old school death metal. I don't, but you might. That'll wrap up our new releases for the week. Let's move into, as usual, our old releases. Let's get into some retrospectives. Corey, what do you got this week? Corey is y'all can't see this, but Corey is making these exaggerated physical gestures.
So I'm just gonna roll into my old album for the week. Jesus, fuck you, G-Chat. Like seriously, I hope you eat a dick soon.
Yeah. It eats all the dicks all the time.
Yeah, it will. It will soon. I'll force feed it mine. I wish that was the first time I've said that.
You're like American Pie, but worse.
I can't believe I just said that. Anywho, my retrospective.
Boy, it's a good thing our employers don't know about this. Oh boy.
Fuck, this is the best. All right, are we is there lag? Are we good?
We're zen. We're zen. I can hear you.
Perfect. All right. So anyway, my retrospective for the week, I went actually back not too far, sticking in line with the industrial theme here. I went back to the end of 2008, about 6 years ago. Actually, almost 6 years ago to 3 weeks from now. And I spun Payne's Cynic Paradise. I don't know why. I just did. This was, I kind of stumbled upon these guys. I was just messing around Wikipediaing Peter Tägtgren, as I used to do frequently in college, because he owns a town in friggin' Sweden, which is kind of cool. But I stumbled upon a track on YouTube called Follow Me by Payne, and I listened to it. It features Annette Olson from Nightwish, and it was really catchy. Definitely a completely different direction, not what I would expect from the same guy that has written the same Hypocrisy album 14 times. But it's an awesome album. It really is. It's a lot of fun. I think of songs like it kicks off actually with a pretty heavy track called I'm Going In, which is just, it really is for this album an ass kicker. And like I mentioned, Follow Me is a lot of fun. You think of, how much they do on this album, and it doesn't really break a ton of new ground as far as industrial music goes, but the elements they kind of bring into it are pretty cool. I think of Have a Drink on Me, which is like a slide thing going on with the guitar, almost feels southern.
Yeah. Have a Drink on Me is my absolute favorite on that album.
Yeah, how cool is that track? Like seriously, how cool is that track? It's awesome.
It's got such a swagger
it's about alcoholism,
to it.
which is and it's it's about alcoholism, which is anybody can appreciate, whatever. But they cover Depeche Mode with Behind the Wheel, which I think is one of the better covers of a Depeche Mode song out there. And let's face it, I think every band has covered a Depeche Mode song at some point. But then there's also tracks like Feed Us, which is really cool, Live Fast, Die Young, Generation X. These are all just upbeat and fun to listen to. We used to spin these tracks all the time, or by say all the time, those two parties we had at Alpha Sigma Satan in our basement, because fuck that mainstream shit. So this band aped a lot of those, soundtracks, and it's just something I had to revisit a little bit. I'm going back to Syracuse for homecoming this weekend, so why the hell not? A little bit of
nice.
Junior and senior year.
Very nice, very nice. So you left out one of my favorites on that album. I don't think it's on the
Monkey Business.
No. See, I don't think it's on the regular,
Here's the news.
Standard version of the album. Yes. Well,
Here's the news.
That's an amazing cover, an Electric Light Orchestra cover. But there is also a remix of Clouds of Ecstasy on there.
Sure.
That is just, now Clouds of Ecstasy normally is kind of dancey, kind of party ready, but this adds so much more bass to things. It really, really makes it like a proper dance track.
Yes, it does.
Absolutely love it. Absolutely.
Honestly, if anybody's going to pick up this album, I would not encourage you to pick up the standard 11-track album. It does have some good tracks on it. Like I said, it has Follow Me, it has Feed Us, it has Have a Drink on Me. They're all on there. But really pick up the extended version with those bonus tracks. Behind the Wheel, Here's the News, Clouds of Ecstasy, those are all bonus tracks. Those are 3 of the 5. So it's just listen to the whole damn thing if you're going to. Don't bother with the 11-track version. Get the whole 16. It's got some of the better songs on there for sure.
Absolutely. Great choice. Now I want to go back and listen to this thing.
Right?
I think I don't know. I go back and forth between this and what's the one that came before it? Psalms of Extinction?
Psalms of Extinction preceded. That's also a really good one.
Yeah. I go back and forth over which one's my favorite, but Yeah, great choice. For my retrospective, I am going to go back to really, if I'm being honest, it was the first heavy metal record I listened to. This is like going back to when I was in 8th grade and was into a lot of new metal. I didn't know any better. And I played a game called Grand Theft Auto Vice City. And on that game's V-Rock radio station, I came across a song by Judas Priest called You've Got Another Thing Coming. Loved the song, immediately downloaded the full album, and I just revisited it this week. The album is Screaming for Vengeance. It's one of Judas Priest's best albums, in my opinion. Just an absolute heavy metal classic. You open with, I mean, can you get a better 1-2 album opening punch? You've got Hellion and Electric Eye. I mean, Jesus, this thing is just, it's so ridiculously cool. Riding on the Wind is good. Obviously, You've Got Another Thing Coming is on there. Just tons and tons of really good stuff. Devil's Child is great. Fever's fun. And it's, you know, like streamlined kind of, I don't want to say pop metal, but it's like, it's very streamlined, polished heavy metal, 80s era heavy metal Judas Priest. You know, this right on a run between, I mean, you're smack dab in the middle of a great run. You've got British Steel, Point of Entry, Screaming for Vengeance, Defenders of the Faith. I mean, they were on such a roll, and all these albums all kicked ass. Screaming for Vengeance was my first exposure to the band. It's probably a pretty solid, substantial reason why I'm into metal today. So going back and revisiting that was a lot of fun. Also the song Bloodstone. I forgot to include that when I was giving my track by track rundown. Bloodstone is an underrated classic. So check it out. Judas Priest, Screaming for Vengeance. It's from 1982, I believe. 82. Yeah.
That sounds right.
It's fun. It's a great.
Yeah, that sounds right.
It's a great record. Anyway, that'll do it for our retrospectives this week. Let us close out now. Let's move into our horns up and horns down. Corey, what do you got for horns up? What's been making you happy this week?
Probably your horns down, but I'm going to go with sports. It's gotta be just it's just gotta be the past weekend's sports, and I'll get into a little bit more detail with specific events, but taken to the assumed here, Bayern Munich wins, no big deal there. Timbers win, that's cool too. Niners win, that's just swell. My fantasy teams are still doing okay, both over 500. Also over the weekend, I got my first taste of NHL hockey. On Saturday, I went down to Boston for the Bruins-Red Wings preseason game at the Garden. Got absolutely swashbuckled at Boston Beer Works beforehand. I watched the game. We got the tickets for free because we got some contacts with season tickets or whatever. Me and my buddy Adam, who's also a Red Wings fan. It was a fun game. We were hammered. The Red Wings ended up winning in a shootout, which is a lot of fun. But it just reminded me that, God damn it, winter sports are back. Like in full-fledged. This is the best time of sports all year long. It really is. Between all the soccer going on, between the NFL in full swing. I mean, I'm not an NBA fan, but that's kicking off soon. NHL is kicking off tonight, this being, Wednesday, recording night. Obviously the MLB playoffs. It's just a great time for sports. It really is. College football, I guess.
I'm with you.
You're not a...
I think it always seems so much more exciting. I mean, not that it's not exciting, but it always seems even more exciting because coming off of summer, you've basically got baseball and soccer, and that's it. And it's just like, but then football, basketball, hockey, all coming back. I mean, I'm not a big hockey fan, but lots of stuff to come back to. So
yeah, it's great. And so I just got those. Just the weekend in general, and experiencing the game in Boston, and just making frenemies with all the Bruins fans because they lost was just the best because I don't remember much of it. So October bringing me new sports and everything that goes with it. That's horns up to you. That's a wonderful thing about the fall. Another wonderful thing about the fall. So yeah, what about you?
I'm going to do actually both of my after a couple of weeks of non-sport related material on this category.
So
both
wait
of
a
my
second.
horns up and horns down are sport.
We go 2 weeks with very little sports, and now all of a sudden we're both doing lots of sports. That sounds about fair.
Yeah,
That sounds about fair.
we we have withdrawal. I mean, these are these
Duh.
are known conditions,
Right.
So, my horns up. So this weekend I got a bunch of people together. We went to a bar in just a little bit up the road from me in Park Slope called the Black Horse, which has become my go-to Arsenal watching spot on weekend mornings. Owned by an Englishman who happens to be a Tottenham Hotspur fan, Arsenal's arch rival, but it's not a Spurs bar. It's not really any affiliation. I've seen City fans in there, United fans, Arsenal fans, Chelsea fans, you name it. Everyone just likes to hang out in the neighborhood and watch soccer there. It's a fun place.
Right.
And with Arsenal and Chelsea, a high profile match, Arsenal and Chelsea kicking off at 9:00 on Sunday. This was an early match. We got a group of people together and we went. And if you go there for soccer, you can when you sit down and grab food instead of just beer, which 90% of the time I don't do.
Right.
But you can get a full English breakfast with your with your drinks and watch your game and get your black pudding, get your sausages, get your eggs, your roasted tomato, your mushrooms. I mean, it was lovely. It was awesome. It was delicious English breakfast. We had like 5 or 6 of us out. I had some Syracuse friends. I had some Brooklyn friends, some soccer friends, just all kind of hanging out, watching the game. Obviously the result didn't quite go my way, but it was a good time.
But you got to see
and
Arsene Wenger push Jose Mourinho, which is everything I want.
Yes,
everything.
That was
You know what I'm talking about.
as disappointing as the result was. That was well worth it. But yeah, no, and I just like in general. I love the Black Horse. I love that there's a nice little neighborhood spot that doesn't align itself to any one team. I mean, I've gotten so kind of frustrated with going to like the Blind Pig and O'Hanlon's and the like official Arsenal spots, and not because I don't want to say I'm question the legitimacy of those bars. I mean, they're great spots and the fans are obviously super into it, but
Sure.
After a certain point, I just want to watch the game. And when you go to those places, you're singing half the time, and you've got all these kinds of distractions. And I'm just I like the Black Horse a little bit more. So that's my horns up.
Nice.
Being able to go nice little place in Park Slope, get an English breakfast, and watch some soccer on a Sunday morning. Can't beat it.
Perfect.
Yeah. So, flip side, what do you got? What do you got for horns down? What's been pissing you off?
Well, not sports this time because I already talked about how great sports were the past 10 minutes or so. I went to this thing which in the past
That's okay.
has
I'll
been
have yes
actually a really
sports
good
for my
time,
horns down.
right? But this past Sunday, and I told you about how ridiculous my Saturday was at this hockey game. So Sunday, after recovering a little bit and hanging out at home, there's this event every year at Red Hook Brewery, which is down towards where I work, that area of town. You don't know where I work, so that's fucking useless information for you, idiots.
Oh, there.
It's at the Red Hook Brewery. They put on a lot of events over the course of the year. They have a huge space for their, for everything, for all the storage, for everything. They have a huge lawn, a huge beer garden, just a lot of space. So they hold a lot of festivals and a lot of events. This past weekend, they had their food truck festival, which in the past has been awesome. Basically, tons of food trucks from all over the place. They all park in the parking lots, and they just open the doors. It's like a couple bucks to get in. You go around, you buy food truck food, and you hang out, you drink beer, you socialize, whatever. It's been a good time in the past. It really has. This year, they fucked everything up. Long story short, there were probably no more than a dozen food trucks, and there was unlimited entry. So the minimum wait for food was 1 hour, which is horseshit, because when you go to a food truck to get food, you're supposed to be there for no more than maybe 30 seconds. That's the way it's supposed to work.
Right.
On top of that, the prices to get in went up, which is no big deal. But also, it's only a 4-hour event. So if you do the math there, if you don't show up at the gates, you probably won't. There's that band I talked about before. If you don't show up at the gates,
reality.
Oh god! So if you don't show up like right there when it opens, you're probably not going to get more than 1 or 2 things to eat. We got one thing to eat, and it was fucking terrible. So what do we do the rest of the time? We just drank beer and yelled at everybody, which I guess was kind of fun. Before what the event was, it was a massive failure. Red Hook, you done fucked up. You've done a good job in the past with everything you've ever hosted, but this was a fucking disaster. You can't have thousands of people on your grounds and have 12 places to get food, all of which take some kind of a wait time. You know, you order food after an hour wait, and you sit there for another 45 minutes after you order it to wait for your food. Just a fuck up, like all together. So, shame on you for making my hangover much, much worse because I got drunk again, Red Hook. Dicks. That's my horns down.
Well then.
Granted, the best way to cure
was,
hangover is to get drunk again, and that did help taper. You know, as Archer said, you gotta taper down, and that's all I did. So that helped.
You know, there's one thing I'll never be able to say about you. I can never, whenever you get excited about something, whether it's good excited or bad excited, I'm never going to be able to say, tell us how you really feel.
Yeah, man.
Because
you only get the real deal.
You don't mince words.
No. You get all of me. You get all the passion and all the stupid stuff I talk about. Deal with it. It could be basket weaving. I'll tell you about how stupid it is. Let's not talk about that.
I don't want to.
Nor I.
My horns down. Keeping in the theme of sports and soccer. I'm going to talk about an apparent injury crisis. It's not I don't want to say apparent. It's a long-running injury crisis at my favorite soccer team, Arsenal. Now, our star creative midfielder, or depending on if you're Arsene Wenger, left winger, our star creative midfielder Mesut Ozil, a guy who we paid £43 million for last summer, is going to be out for 10 to 12 weeks, so through the new year at this point, with ligament damage in his knee. This comes on the heels of another midfielder, Aaron Ramsey, going down, a defensive midfielder, Mikel Arteta, going down. We have our right back. Our right back went down, making an awkward slide. Our star striker broke his leg trying to do a clearance. Half of our team is on the injury list at this point, and this has been going on for 5 to 6 years now. We are the most chronically injured team in the Premier League, and I don't understand. After a certain point, it stops becoming mere bad luck. Like, there's something going on here. Like, our guys keep getting injured. We're talking about going back to the later years of Thierry Henry's campaign. We're talking Van Persie. They've all had this injury bug at Arsenal. Yeah. And what the hell is it? Is it our staff? Is it the training routines they're going through? What the hell is going on at this club that we keep losing people to injury? We keep losing significant percentages of our squads to injury each year for long periods of time too.
Yeah, these aren't minor injuries. And I was going to say, you guys have like the shittiest luck when it comes to injuries, but it's almost, you have to question the luck after a certain point. My club's dealing with some injuries right now, especially in the midfield, but we've been relatively healthy in the past. This is like something that I feel happens almost every single year for Arsenal. And it's probably part of the reason why you guys start every year really strong and then kind of stutter a little bit because you just don't have any depth by the end of the year. You have to wonder if it's like a training thing, if like what's going on, because I know he hasn't necessarily done a ton for Arsenal yet, but Ozil's an amazing player, and for a long time he's going to be able to produce and he's going to be able to put quality in the field. So that's I guess it could be worse than 10 to 12 weeks. I mean, that sucks, but at least he'll be healthy for the end of the season, ideally.
Right.
But
It could have been a Theo Walcott type thing where he straight up tears his ACL and
bingo,
he's
wow.
done.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Though, no, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Theo
So, I mean,
Walcott,
at
who
least-
did that in January and is just now returning to full training. Thank God.
Yeah.
It's unreal. I mean, like the only possible silver lining is that thank God it happened to a midfielder where we have like 800 of those. I mean, Arsene Wenger's entire philosophy is like buying a midfielder can cure any ill. Oh,
Right.
we're thin in the back. Let's buy another midfielder. Like if Wojciech Szczesny's, our goalie's like right leg develops gangrene and falls off during a match, Arsene Wenger will buy another midfielder. If Danny Welbeck develops cancer, Arsene Wenger will buy another midfielder. It's just like, oh, that doesn't fix everything. I can't understand it. And now we're getting into like our squad depth issues, and I'm digressing from that. But what the hell? We even brought over the fitness coach from the German national team. 4 years too late, I might add. How the hell we went 4 years? How the hell we went as long as we had without a fitness coach with our like shoddy physio team is beyond me. But I just don't understand. It amazes me like how I understand. Like Arsene Wenger is tunnel vision and he has his way of doing things, but to not be able to pick up on stuff like this.
Right.
It's like Andy Reid in the NFL. It's like, how many years have you been doing this? How many years have you been coaching and yet you still suck at clock management? Arsene Wenger, how many years has this been happening? How many years have these injuries been constantly plaguing our team before something gives, before we make the changes we need to make? Right. And I recognize that Shad Forsyth was like an attempt at that, but what the hell? The injuries are even worse now and they're weirder.
I don't have a ton of argument.
I don't know. I'm not at my most articulate right now because number one, because it's late, and number two, because I'm just so goddamn furious at Arsenal right now. I mean, I love this team to death, but they do not make it easy to be a fan of all the time. So yeah, there's that. That's my horns down for the week. More sports. But so that'll wrap up. This has been episode 24 of the Horns Up podcast. Reminder that you should really like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. We are at facebook.com/Horns Up Podcast, Twitter @Horns Up Podcast. Subscribe on iTunes, subscribe on Stitcher, subscribe on Podbean for the moment. We're on YouTube. Check us out. Tell your friends. Got any metal listening buddies? Please let them know. Tell them, send them our way. Corey, did I forget anything? Is that all we got?
I think that wraps up this episode. Pretty close to it, at least.
Well then. That's episode 24. Thank you guys, as always, for stopping by. We really appreciate your listenership. And we'll see you next week for episode 25. But before then, live,
love,
plow,
horns up.
We'll see you next week.